Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right?
Oh!
The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa,
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs. Hey, welcome in. It's the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It is an emergency pod. Patrick Allen here with you to break down the big news that we all woke up to this morning. At least I did. I've got a baby and I was tired. The Kansas City Chiefs are trading for Tennessee Titans receiver DeAndre Hopkins. This is a name that we've been talking about as we've been batting around the names of guys that are still out there. Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins was kind of always in that mix. A lot of us were talking about Deontay Johnson as being a possibility. Yesterday, news broke that the Los Angeles Rams were looking to potentially trade Cooper Kupp. That was an interesting one for the Chiefs, and they're willing to take on salary. Things were in the works here, and it looks like it's going to be D-Hop. A lot to kind of talk about. Fire off in the chat. So here's how my day started, right? You guys know I got a 5-month-year-old. I keep saying that. It's brutal. A 5-month-old. That's all I got to say. 5-month-old. He won't be a year for a few months now. I get up, man. Like, he slept well, and it was great. I slept until 7 a.m. Usually I'm up at 4 or 5 a.m. with him. I was so thrilled. Today's my day to do drop off at daycare. And, I go, I'm taking a piss. I'm looking at the phone, and I fire it up, Twitter. First thing I see, Chiefs traded for DeAndre Hopkins. It's like 40 minutes ago. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I wanted to go live right then. I wanted to wake Richard up, producer Richard, and be like, we got to go live right now. Massive story. Let's wake everybody up. Can't do it. Had a kid. Brutal. It's a brutal situation for me as a Chiefs podcaster. It is what it is. I implore you, Brett Veach, if you're going to do any more big moves, can they not break like first thing in the morning? Wait until the middle of the workday. When I'm sitting at my desk, I can get on. We could talk Chiefs. Don't do it during the daycare windows, man. Come on. Killing me. Sound off in the chat. I want to know what you guys think. USAF Chiefs fan says, in Veach, we trust. So let's kind of break down what the deal is here. They're still finalizing it, but once they start reporting it, it's done. Or it's inevitable. It's going to happen. So here's what we got from ESPN. I'm just going to read you this article. The Titans and Chiefs are working to finalize a trade that would send wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins to Kansas City. The Titans would receive a conditional 4th-round pick in a trade that is expected to be completed Wednesday, sources says. That's today. The Chiefs have a need at wide receiver since Rashee Rice suffered a right knee injury in week 4 that required season-ending surgery. The team lost Marquise Hollywood Brown to a shoulder injury, as we all know too well. Juju suffered a hamstring injury. He's not going to play this week, and he's out already. Hopkins, a 12-year veteran, is in the final season of a 2-year deal he signed with the Titans in July of 2013. He suffered a torn MCL during the offseason, but recovered in time for the season opener. He has 15 receptions for 173 yards and a touchdown in 6 games this season. The 5-time Pro Bowler has also played for the Texans and Cardinals. So those are the details. Conditional, it's a 4th-rounder that I believe can become a 3rd. Based on, or is a 5th. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. Let me find the compensation really quickly here. The Titans would receive a conditional 4th-round pick in a trade. Yeah. So I believe what I saw on Twitter was that it's a 5th that can turn into a 4th, I think is what I heard there. So let me pull up the compensation on Twitter and see what we can find. So first of all, let me know in the chat, do you like this move? Good or bad? Good or bad? Is Hopkins the guy that you wanted? All right, let's go to the chat. Check it out. Oh, Clint, my guy Clint with the super chat, $49.99. Appreciate you, Clint. Let's freaking go, Chiefs. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Jason says, let's get Deontay too. I'm down. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Ian says we get a B for getting Hopkins. It's not bad, I guess. Listen, I love this move. So I mentioned the stats that Hopkins has this season. Look, he's 32. All right. He'll be 33 in June. He's not the guy that he once was, but he hasn't played in a really good offense in a minute. So his first season in Tennessee in 2023, that was just last year. He had 75 receptions on 137 targets for 1,057 yards and 7 touchdowns. This season, he's only got 173 yards. I don't know if you've watched the Titans. They're complete garbage. They're awful. They're an awful football team. Will Levis isn't good. Nobody's scared of them. Their offense isn't good. They've got a new regime in there. Like, they're not good. So I would throw out anything that you know, if you're worried about the fact that DeAndre Hopkins isn't putting up crazy numbers this year. I mean, are you going to be killing yourself if you're DeAndre Hopkins? You know, you go there and Vrabel's the head coach and all that, and then they change everything and you're catching passes from Will Levis. Like, forget it, right? So let's dive into his stats, though, from a game log perspective, because I think there's something to be gleaned here, that even though this guy's playing on an absolutely putrid offense, he's had a couple nice games this year. In particular, on the 22nd of September, Green Bay Packers and a loss, 30-14, 7 receptions for 73 yards and a touchdown. I mean, if you're a Chiefs fan, we've got nobody. If he can go out every game and catch 7 balls for 73 yards or every other game, that's a massive upgrade over what Kansas City has right now. It might help free up Travis Kelce a little bit. The Chiefs are already running the ball really well. So even though he's a little bit older, I think he's got enough left in the tank to make an impact if he can stay healthy and stay on the field for the Chiefs. Let's go to the chat here. Weston says, Juju, D-Hop, Worthy, Hollywood, with the tight ends and running backs we have, will be lethal. Yeah, there's a possibility that Hollywood is back before the end of the season. So if the Chiefs get Hollywood Brown back, now you've got DeAndre Hopkins. Rashee Rice isn't coming back. Pacheco's coming back. So it's not just about right now. I mean, the Chiefs they've made a ton of deposits in the bank of the playoffs already, right? They're 6-0. They still have 2 games against the Raiders, including this weekend. They play the Chargers again. They stink. I don't care what their record is. They stink. They can't score. They play the Broncos twice. I'm not scared of Bone Knicks. They have a good defense, but so what? So the Chiefs have a ton of winnable games on their schedule. They get some tough ones too, but they're going to the playoffs. Can they get healthy and get this offense right for the playoffs? That's what this is about. Doug in Kansas says D-Hop wants that ring. Absolutely. Jason asks, what is his contract length remaining? This is it, I believe. He's on the second year of a 2-year contract. After this, he's a rental. The Chiefs are renting him, and rightfully so, with as bad as their injury situation is right now. Angry Junk in German says, Pat now has a guy he can trust when everything breaks down. He won't have 150-yard games anymore, but he's a lock to come down with it. Yeah, this is a talented wide receiver. This is, I mean, you know, Rashee Rice was really turning into something, but this is the most talented wide receiver that Patrick Mahomes has had on the team since Tyreek Hill left. Like, this is one of those one-of-one type players who's at the end of his career, but I think, you know, he's going to be able to make it. He's going to be able to make an impact in this offense. This isn't going and getting McCole Hardman from the Jets last year. This isn't getting Kadarius Toney This is DeAndre Hopkins. The biggest fear of DeAndre Hopkins that I have about DeAndre Hopkins isn't can he perform on the field? It's is he going to get hurt? Right? Older guys, the body's breaking down. That's what you have to be concerned about. But there's no sense in being worried about injury concerns at this point if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. Even your young, healthy players are getting hurt. Pacheco, Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice. Like injuries, it's the NFL, man. Injuries are going to happen. He might be at a slightly higher risk, but that's not a reason not to do the deal to get a player with the talent of DeAndre Hopkins. So I'm on board. Like, this is a fantastic move. I think I saw somebody in the chat asking if I think the Chiefs are done. I don't think they should be. I don't think the Chiefs should be done trying to make moves here. It's a big move, so it might be it. You know, at this point, the Chiefs, it's not like there's free agency, right? They have to give up something to get something. So most of the teams that are going to be selling at this point are going to be looking for draft compensation. Maybe they make a small move to get a little bit more depth there. There are other guys floating around out there that, might not cost much or anything. Like we talked about this on the podcast on Thursday, Elijah Moore from the Browns. Like, if there's somebody out there that, and I'm not saying that Elijah Moore is somebody that the Chiefs should go out and get, but I'm saying if there's somebody out there that Brett Veach likes or liked when they were coming out, that he thinks has partially been failed by the organizations that they've been in, a la Kadarius Toney, and he was wrong about Kadarius Toney. Does he call up Cleveland and say, hey, you want a conditional 7th round pick for Elijah Moore? Like, Elijah Moore is not part of Cleveland's plans. They're going to try to get Cedric Tillman going, some of the other young guys that they have on that roster. He's not part of their future plans. Jameis Winston's going to be starting. They've won one game. Like, they're looking at the draft, maybe at trying to get a quarterback. So why not get a little bit of extra draft compensation to give you more flexibility? I think those are the moves. If the Chiefs are going to do something else, those are the moves that they're probably going to make. I think they should try to get a little bit more depth. I don't know the extent of Juju Smith-Schuster's injury, but these hamstring injuries are rough, man. They're keeping people out. Some guys are going on IR with them. They can linger. Juju's a little bit older. So, for me, I would double down if I was Brett Veach, if I could, if there was somebody out there that I liked. Mike in Sweden. What's up, brother? I feel like I'm never live early enough to see Mike anymore. He's an AA starting 11 member for 34 months. Says, glad we got him. More options makes it harder for defenses. Get Juju back, lighten his workload, all positive for us. Yeah, I think Ian says, why didn't we get rid of Sky Moore? They got to have somebody. I mean, they've got to have some receivers. They're just I know everybody is sick of Sky Moore and he doesn't do anything, but they have to have some receivers. Like there's no, with the contract that he has right now, there's just no benefit to the Chiefs moving on from Sky Moore. There's just, then they're just even thinner. You can argue that he doesn't add anything, but they have used him in special teams before. There's just no, they will move on from him eventually, but he's not going to be a guy that they cut this season. Shout out to Doug in Kansas, who's been a member for a year of the AA rookie camp. Ruben says, who's Sky? Rhett says, Remigio is better than Sky. Give him a shot. That's where I wonder, like, kind of what the deal is. You got a guy like Remigio on the practice squad. Justin Ross, I think, is still on the practice squad. Why are those guys on the practice squad if you don't feel like you can call them up? What's the point of them, really, at that point? Like, the Chiefs are in as dire straits at the wide receiver position as I could possibly imagine. And they're not going to bring Remigio up to the roster. Then why is he on the practice squad? Like, what are those guys there for, if not to be emergency break glass options or guys that you're trying to develop? If Ross and Remigio aren't ready to kind of make that leap and contribute now, then you should get them off the practice squad and find some guys who you think can still develop if you know that they're not good enough. I don't understand that. USAF says Andy likes guys who know the offense. Yeah, like but is that the only thing that they bring to the table? Because what would it take at this point for you to call Remigio up to the active roster? Would Sky Moore need to break his leg? Like, I don't understand that, right? So that's the confusing part for me with this whole thing. I don't get it. Let's go back to the chat. Let's see what you guys are saying. Angry Drunken German is feeling he's in his bag, man. 4. We're winning 4 straight Super Bowls. This could be the move that we look back on and say that was it. When I talked about this on the post-game show on Sunday, that I thought that this was the biggest. Quentin says, "What's up? What's up, buddy?" I thought this was the biggest moment so far of Brett Veach's tenure as the GM of the Chiefs, because it was never more apparent. He's made moves, many of them great. Some of them he's whiffed on, but it's never become more apparent that, like, the Chiefs needed their GM. They needed Brett Veach to do something, to be active. Making trades for the sake of making trades doesn't always work out, right? It shouldn't be. I don't think Brett Veach takes selling his draft picks lightly. And so sometimes you're going to have a season where you look at it and you're like, all right, like, you know, maybe we don't need to make a big move. That's a desperation move. We don't need to do that. Last year, the Chiefs didn't make a big move. We wanted them to. We wanted all these guys, and we got McCole Hardman. This year, there's a lot on the line with the three-peat, and the Chiefs are just. I mean, Xavier Worthy is hopefully going to develop as the season goes on, but he's just not there right now. He can contribute. He can make an impact. Hopkins is gonna steady things a little bit. He's gonna. I mean, you see the way that Patrick Mahomes is playing. He's got nobody to throw the ball to. The Chiefs aren't winning another Super Bowl with Noah Gray being their leading receiver. It's just not going to happen. But now there's a threat on the field that defenses have to worry about at the wide receiver position. This should really open things up. Jason says, Patrick, heard it was Raider week and told Veach to get D-Hop so that we can go scorched earth, unleashed hellfire, all because of Kermit Mahomes. Book him for 40. Yeah, Hopkins isn't even on the Chiefs yet. So it's Wednesday. I don't think he's going to play this weekend. If he did, it'd maybe a couple snaps. I mean, Amari Cooper got traded and he did play for the Bills and he caught a touchdown. He played, I think, 12 snaps for them. He ran like 12 routes. So if Hopkins is able to get to Kansas City today and be there for the Thursday practice and the Friday walkthrough, I think he could be active, and that's what you could expect, that they install a couple of routes for him that he knows how to run, and that's it. Spence says that there's a report saying Hopkins is playing. So I haven't even seen the final report that the ink is dry yet, but he's probably already on his way to Kansas City cleaning out his locker. I know we're talking about wide receiver. We're talking about DeAndre Hopkins. And a lot of you are asking, are the Chiefs done? Is this the last move that they're going to make? I wonder if they're looking at the tackle market. Is there somebody out there? I've been focused on receiver, so I haven't done a lot of research on this. Is there somebody out there that the Chiefs want to bring in at tackle? Maybe it's calling Donovan Smith, but I'm down with being patient with Wanya Morris, Kingsley Suamataia, letting those guys develop. But I would feel a lot better if the Chiefs had a veteran, even if they're there to be an emergency option as a backup. Because if those guys continue to struggle, or God forbid, if there's an injury, you're kind of paper thin at the position at that point. And so I'd feel a lot better. The trade deadline's coming up. So if I'm a Chiefs fan, like I am a Chiefs fan, I don't want them to wait until it's too late, right? Like something happens to Wanya Morris in week 12, and then Suamati is out there and he's overmatched, and that's it. That's all we've got. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking at some other areas as well. Jalen Butler says, in 2005, Andy Reid had a 32-year-old Terrell Owens and averaged 109 yards a game. This is a game-changing, and I can't wait to see it play out. This is perfect, and now D-Rob back makes sense. Oh, you think the Chiefs should get Demarcus Robinson? You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they did do that. With these reports that it sounds like the Rams are kind of maybe throwing in the towel. If they're looking to move Cooper Kupp, they could probably get Demarcus Robinson for nothing. So he's been productive out there. That's a good offense when everybody's healthy. And Demarcus Robinson was a contributor for them. He's not a guy you can rely on. He's certainly not a one. But when we're talking about depth, he knows the system. I think he could come in. He could make an impact right away. So I think that's a great point by Jalen, targeting guys like Demarcus Robinson who can come in and provide that depth for you. I would much rather have D-Rob back than, Elijah Moore, right? Even though Elijah Moore is younger and is potentially, you could re-sign him for not very much. Like bring in a guy who can plug in like they did with Hardman last year and win with. Let's go back to the chat. Doug in Kansas says Pop isn't giving up number 10 though. Probably not. Woo's guy says, I don't understand cap space. If they have room to bring in a tackle, that would be better than our current ones. Yeah, cap space is always complicated. And when you make some of these trades, remember, it's just about so I'm not an expert in this, but if you're interested in looking at guys that you might want the Chiefs to trade for, and you're wondering about their cap, go, Google their salary and look at their base salary, because that's what matters. The Chiefs, if somebody's got like a big signing bonus, so you could see a big number and be like, oh, well, the Chiefs can't afford that. The signing bonus, the team is on the hook for that. If they trade a player, unless they've committed to paying that signing bonus, and it's stretched out for the life of the contract. So the base salary is what matters if you're trading for a guy. And sometimes these teams can take on some of the salary to move it. So think about it like buying a draft pick, right? So I don't know if that's the case with the Titans here, but if the Titans are taking on some of DeAndre Hopkins' base salary for the rest of the year, it's almost like they're saying to the Chiefs, like, hey, we're going to give you this player. We're going to spend this amount of money. We're going to continue to pay a part of his salary so that you're under the cap, and you're giving us draft pick compensation. So that's why a team would do that. Obviously, it's not advantageous for the Titans to just pay DeAndre Hopkins when he's not giving them production, but it is if they're buying an asset from the Chiefs as part of the trade, which is essentially what would be happening. So there are guys out there that might have not a very large base salary cap hit. And then again, that will be divided among each game that the player plays for the rest of the year. So as we get closer to the deadline, which is early November, you might see the Chiefs make another move. Every week that goes by, the more affordable any player that they trade for is, because the team has now covered another portion of their contract. You're not on the hook for their base salary for the entire year. Jalen says he had 1,000 yards last season. I mean, that's it, right? Like, this is a guy who is still a productive wide receiver in the right situation, and he didn't have a great situation last year as well. Other games this year, he had just on the 13th of October, so a couple weeks ago here, 10 days ago, he had 6 receptions for 54 yards against the Colts. DeAndre Hopkins did. The rest of his games this year, he had 4 for 31 against Miami. Was only targeted once against Buffalo, once against the Bears. That's good defense. Twice against the Jets for 9 yards. Again, like the Titans offense is horrendous. Jason Tyler says this team in 2018 would be nuts. Kareem, Juju, Kelsey, Hopkins, laughing my effing ass off. Yeah, man. You can win with veterans. Look what Kareem Hunt is doing. These are going to be the guys that are available, right? Like, people aren't going to trade you premium young talent at this time of year. It's just not going to happen. So the only time you're getting that kind of talent in a trade usually is heading into the draft, like when the Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill, and they're like, we're not going to pay this guy. So, and those are mega deals. They're expensive. They come with new contracts. So these are the kinds of moves that you want to be made, that you can make at this time of year. I mean, look at in free agency, right? I know we tend to, we're all playing fantasy football. And when we see a guy's a little bit older, we're like, well, I don't want that guy. He's old. That means he can't play anymore. Just ask Derrick Henry, who was in this same Titans offense with DeAndre Hopkins last year. All right. Now, he was productive in it. Actually, I'm going to pull up his stats because I think it's interesting. He was productive last year because he's Derrick Henry. But they stunk, and they were relying on him so much. Okay? So let's pull up Derrick Henry's stats. So last year, in 2023, for the Titans, Derrick Henry had 280 carries for 1,167 yards. He averaged 4.2 yards per carry. Okay. In the 2 years before that, he had 1,500 yards in 2022. He averaged 4.4. He only played 8 games in 2021. He had 937. So he's averaging 4.3, 4.4, 4.2 last year. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, Henry's getting old. He's not the guy that rushed for 2,000 yards anymore. 4.2 yards per carry, nothing too crazy, volume guy, all that. He goes to Baltimore, a great fit for a running back. Even though Derrick Henry's older now, he's 30 years old, he goes to a running team. This is what they do. What's he averaging this year? 6.5 yards per carry. Derrick Henry has 873 yards rushing through 7 games this year. 873. So he's on pace for 2,120 yards rushing. But there were a lot of people in my on my Twitter feed saying Derrick Henry's washed. He's not going to do anything in Baltimore. He's old now. Right situation, right player. Age matters. But it's not everything. So I'm not worried about DeAndre Hopkins' age. I'm worried about him staying healthy. If he stays healthy, he should be able to put up 1,000 yards, 1,000-yard, per game average numbers for the Kansas City Chiefs in this offense. Green says there were 28 1,000-yard receivers last year out of 50. That's middle of the pack. He's good, not great anymore. Yeah, man, but he was playing for the Tennessee Titans last year. Again, I'm not saying he's going to put up like a 1,500-yard or 1,600-yard pace, but he's not washed, right? He's not washed. He's the best receiver on the Chiefs right now with Rashee Rice out. And there might be an argument that even if Rashee Rice was there, that he still might be the best and most talented wide receiver on the Chiefs. This guy is fantastic. He's just kind of been in, quarterback hell. So we'll see. We're going to find out. But the Chiefs are certainly in a better spot now than they were at this time yesterday. And that's good news if you're a Chiefs fan. Let's get some final thoughts in the chat. Let us know what you think. Couple questions for you. What do you think of the trade? Maybe give it a grade. And is there any other players that you want the Chiefs to go after? So, throw me some names of guys you think that they could go after. Yeah, Spence says Will Levis was throwing him the ball. Will Levis blows. He's not good. He's not good. Got a super chat here from KL368. Did you see the report the Chiefs are planning to elevate Ross to 53? Sounds like strange timing after the Hopkins trade. It was Jay Binkley. I did not see that. I get it. They're so banged up man. And again, even if Hopkins plays this weekend, he's not going to play every snap. So you got to have somebody to rotate in that knows the offense. So I'm not surprised at all that they're promoting somebody. I mean, who are you going into the game with if you don't elevate Justin Ross at the wide receiver position? Say you're going to get 10 to 15 snaps from DeAndre Hopkins. You need somebody. Let's look at last week, right? So Juju goes out early. Noah Gray had 4 receptions for 66 yards. He's a tight end. Your next leading receiver was Samaje Perine, who caught 1 ball for 22 yards. So we're down to 22 yards now. Xavier Worthy, your rookie, had 3 receptions for 19 yards. McCole Hardman had 1 reception for 17. Kelsey, 4 for 17. Watson, 1 for 8. Kareem Hunt, 2 for 5. So the receivers that you had didn't give you very much. You had to rely on your tight ends. Kelsey got locked down in that game. Sky Moore got 1 ball thrown to him, and of course he dropped it. You got to call somebody up, even though you're going to get a handful of snaps from DeAndre Hopkins. So I think those two would probably not very much be on the same field, the field at the same time. You'll probably see quite a bit of Ross this weekend if he does get caught up. Let's go to the chat. Cliff says, I give it an A. A veteran, highly accomplished wide receiver that defenses must respect. You absolutely have to respect DeAndre Hopkins, period. He's got incredible ball skills. Sean Browning says, I love this move. Should we go after a cornerback like Trayvon Diggs? Yeah, obviously, if you saw the news yesterday, Watson out with a broken leg. If I trust one thing about the Chiefs, it's that they've got DBs on the roster and that they don't need to make a trade. They just are a factory with these guys. So we might see some of them struggle a little bit for a couple games, but I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine at the DB position. I think they're pretty deep there, and they've got guys that they like, and they just have a track record of being able to do it. CD says, don't even mention Sky Moore's name. T-Bill says, D-Hop clearing space in his jewelry box and shelf on his trophy mantle. New additions forthcoming. I hope so, man. I really hope so. Sean Browning says, I love the move. Oh, I already read this one. Alan F says, we should be able to beat the Raiders with our practice squad. Raiders are not good. Gardner Minshew is going to be coming back in. Aiden O'Connell is out with an injury. I still think the Chiefs are going to go, and I'll talk about this on Thursday on the OG Hour. I think the Chiefs are going to go scorched earth on the Raiders in this game. I know the Chiefs are banged up and haven't been playing well, but after remember, the last time the Chiefs lost was on Christmas Day last year to the Raiders in the ugliest game I've ever seen. Both teams were terrible. The Chiefs were worse. And then you got Antonio Pierce and the Raiders talking about the Mahomes rules and all this BS over the offseason, how they're going to rough up Mahomes. Chiefs have been looking forward to this one. So I think, they're going to have their hands full with Brock Bowers, a really talented young rookie tight end that the Raiders have, but he's pretty much all they've got. I'm not scared of Alexander Madison, Trey Tucker. Like the Chiefs, if the Chiefs take care of the football, I think they're going to win this one. And I think they have a bad taste in their mouth that they would like to wash out. If the Super Bowl didn't do it, they do not. They're going to remember that game against the Raiders last year. All right, everybody, we're going to get out of here. Listen, we got a show later today, Wacky Wednesday. Sterling and Adam, they'll be here. There'll be more details. We'll talk a little bit more about the DeAndre Hopkins trade. We'll see if any other news comes out about the trade, about the Chiefs being active after they wrap this one up. I'll be here Thursday, tomorrow at 4, and Verderam and I will break down this move and any other moves the Chiefs make even more. Appreciate you guys joining us for the emergency pod. We will see you guys a little bit later today for Wacky Wednesday, but until then, as always, go Chiefs.